Should you chip with a 7-iron or a wedge? It's big decisions, isn't it? There's a lot of pressure on us now in our short game to carry vast amount of wedges, 58, 56, 54 and 50. What happens if we stripped it to bare bones and said carry a sand wedge, just use it out the sand, use a pitching wedge over a bunker or those 50-50 shots, 50 in the air, 50% along the ground, and finally a more running shot with a 7-iron. I honestly think we'd have less indecision and make more chips. So let's answer that question right away. Should you chip with a 7-iron or a pitching wedge? The answer is you need to get good at them both. And if you get good at them both, you'd have the two shots that are going to get you through a round of golf. Think about this scenario. We're going to start off with 7-iron here. We're going to talk through how we stand to the golf ball and also what scenarios you want to use it in. Also some feelings in the shot. So if you think about it this way, what shots do you need? What shots do we expect to get up and down? That chip and run where you hit it at the front of the green and get it to the back of the green where the flag is. How do you make it easier? This is a scenario we would use our 7-iron. If we had a flag in the middle of the green, we could use more of our pitching wedge, so 50% in the air, 50% roll out, chipping over a bunker, we could use that pitching wedge. So let's go through this whole technique. So what I want you to do is, for a more running shot, I tend to put it a little bit further back in my stance. So I would stand over this golf ball, I'm going to take a club head width apart stance. I'm going to keep my shoulders parallel to target line, so you can see this blue and yellow here on the ground. Keep my shoulders relative to that line here, nice and level. I'm also then going to pull that lower half back and lower half open. You'll also notice for this running shot, I'm stood quite close to this. So there's quite a bit of a steep angle on this shaft. This is what I'm after. Weight goes a little bit left. And now to make this shot work, I want you to use this analogy of right palm always stays the target. If I start here with my hands on the golf ball, I return here. I don't change it by coming back. Or I don't add or take off too much loft. That taking off too much loft, I think, is going back to that one of trying to guarantee a strike. It's going to get that one that fires off. So if you're finding it hard to control this 7-iron and how far it rolls out, that is that space. So let's hit one away here and talk through a little bit more with the screen. Weight left, back, and through. You'll also notice as I'm hitting that shot, there's no hit towards the golf ball. The analogy that I use is like gravity, drop it on the ball. And we'll show you this in more detail now. Let's have a look. So face on position here, looking at the screen, you can see that my hands are on the golf ball or just ahead and back. My center of my sternum staying where it is, it's coming back to where it was, through towards the golf ball, just a little bit of rotation. So what I'm meaning in terms of don't fight the weight of the golf club, it's hard, isn't it? We grab a 7-iron out, we want to get it running. The temptation is to stand like a normal 7-iron and try and guide it with these hands and really try and get this golf club to do the work as if we were hitting a full shot. Well, anytime this happens, golf club's going to get stuck a little bit inside relative to the length of the shot. We're going to be fighting gravity here. We've got to find that strike. So by budging a little bit close to it, we take a little bit of the wrists out, we make it more of move the triangle back and forwards. So it gives us a great feeling of a quiet motion, right arm, underarm throwing. So that is how we play the 7-iron. Ball a little bit towards the back of the stance, club width apart on the stance, hands on the golf ball. Let's have a look at now pitching wedge. So going into this scenario, we're talking about over a bunker, trying to feel like we get a bit more of a throwed shot in the air, so a little bit more carry on the shot. And it's a valuable shot to have in our locker. So the second shot, pitching wedge. How do we get the most out of this? This is the way. So again, we've got this set up on the floor here. We're standing in there, club width apart. Ball now, I tend to play it more in the middle of the stance. Lower half open, weight left. So if we're looking for a little bit more height, we need a little bit more speed. So going from that one lever motion that doesn't create much speed, we need to add something to it. So adding something to it, we want to add a little bit of wrist hinge. So what I like to feel is it's like this. We add a little bit of wrist hinge this way, not this way. Okay, it's almost like a bit of an opening and closing door. So I'd stand here, open, throw the door, open, throw the door. So if I'm going to hit a shot here, I want you just to have a look at this, and we'll play the 7-iron versus the pitching wedge, because this is going to give us a little bit more speed, a little bit more height, and a bit more of a thrown shot in the air. So the analogy that I use is hinge it, throw it under. And I like to feel that the back edge of that golf club, this back edge here, is that brushing part on the ground. So we're getting the bounce to do our work for us. So hinge it, throw it under. Have a look at this shot right now. We're going to compare 7-iron and pitching wedge. So let's look at these both now, play them both through, see if you can tell me which one it is. Comment down below. Left or right is pitching wedge, or let's have a look. So look at this, pitching wedge clearly here early on the left. A little bit more of a set of the wrists through here. This is allowing us to generate a little bit more club head speed. Compare that to our 7-iron shot. Very much a one lever system. So if we had these two systems with these two clubs that we chipped around the green, our left side would create a little bit more speed, a little bit more height, and a little bit more carry. If we're looking to go over an obstacle, throw this golf ball in the air, we can rein this model in if we don't want to hit it as far. If we're looking for more of a running shot, you can see how that model on the right side of the screen is going to be better for us. So it's coming through into the golf ball now. Let it release underneath, and they look very similar between left and right, but there's one difference there. Again, you can see that I'm throwing the bounce underneath here on the left. My palm is staying roughly towards target. Very much a one lever motion. So if I showed you the differences in them and we associated variations in technique between these two clubs, we've got one that's just very much like this, one that's like this. So the answer to our question is, we want to be able to chip well, and should we chip with 7-iron or pitching wedge? The answer is, we need to get good with them both. More running shot with the 7-iron, use your one lever motion. With the pitching wedge, getting a bit more loft. Well, obviously we've got more loft from the club to begin with, but then get used to using this little bit of a set of the wrists, and think about it this way. We don't want to do too much of this. There are times in which we would want to do that in terms of flop shot, in terms of bunker shot. We want to get a bit of cupping there to really add loft, but in this sense, can we set the wrists in this motion to really get that feeling of dropping that club on the ball and that feeling of strike with a little bit more speed. So there you go, we've answered your question from today. Should you use 7-iron, should you use pitching wedge? The answer is, master them both.